He's like, I want this lady. So what leads to the downfall? Ravan's last big misconception about Shakuni.
Okay.
He's probably not as bad as he's made out to be. It is not as if he's this person always evil and strategizing and stuff. No, he's not that. It's actually very simple. My biggest shock was the portrayal of Karna in Vedvyasji's Mahabharata versus what we see him in televisions and everything. In televisions and everything, he's sort of this underdog, yeah?
Was Draupadi character portrayed in a wrong manner in today's world or in that time also? What is your take on that, man?
He sees his entire family die in front of his own eyes, killing each other. And we say, oh, Krishna, all fun and masti, and we can relate to him.
Namaste and a very warm welcome to the Nationalist Madarasi. This is Intellectual Exchange with me, Sri Dharmaragwan. In today's episode of the Intellectual Exchange, we are joined by a yoga instructor, author, and a dancer, I would say. So she's a very special guest to the Nationalist Madarasi. None other than Ami Ganatara ji is joined by us. She has written Mahabharata Unravelled and Ramayana Unravelled as well. She needs no introduction, I would say, because all her YouTube podcasts and YouTube lectures have been there, and she's a very good orator. So we are very blessed to have her in our show. Thank you so much, Amiji, and so for your time as well. I know how hectic your travel is, and thank you so much for your time, Amiji.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be part of the Nationalist Madrasi. I hope there are more and more like you.
Thank you, James.
We need all of them to protect and preserve Sanatan Dharma.
Sure, for sure. We are for Sanatana Dharma. Ma'am, let's talk about Mahabharata. So, what is the main thing in Mahabharata? Because I saw your lecture, that is a 35 minutes lecture in internet, because that is the only thing when I got, when I typed Ami Ganatara English. Okay, so the rest of the things were in Hindi actually. And so beat all of your podcasts with Sandeep Maheshwari ji and the other personalities. So that were in Hindi. So I got this thing. So I listened to the whole lecture actually. So, what is the main thing in which Mahabharata surrounded or Mahabharata is all about?
Mahabharata, again, is an itihas. And if you see, everything and anything revolves around this word called your name, Dharma. Everything, yeah? Of course, Ramayana is also about Dharma. But Mahabharata takes it to another level. In what way? Which is the most famous scene of Mahabharata? Krishna, Arjun on the battlefield. Now, interestingly, that battlefield, which is in Kurukshetra, is called the Dharma Kshetra. Correct? The first line of Gita is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Why Dharma? It is a Yuddha. There are so many Yuddhas in history, but this Yuddha is also called Dharma Yuddha. Right? When they are talking about who will win, that time Gandhari, Vyasa, Sanjay, they're all saying, Yato Krishna tato dharma. Yato dharma tato jayaha. Yato Krishna tato dharma. Again, they're talking about dharma. And that famous scene, as I said, is about Arjun and Krishna on the battlefield, where Arjun is very confused about his dharma.
Yeah, okay.
He is confused that one end is his family, his own grandfather, his guru, his cousins, right? On one end, he has to fight them. So, in a way, it is against his kutumba dharma, the dharma he has towards his family. But on the other side is his own kshatriya dharma, his raj dharma, because they have been treated very, very unjustly, even though they have tried to compromise for so long, right? But the other side, Duryodhana is not ready. So, how long should somebody who is a kshatriya or raja, how long should they tolerate injustice? So that is a Raj Dharma, Kshatriya Dharma. And he doesn't know what to do, where to give priority. Again, his question is not a trivial one. Because what happens in a Yuddha? Of course, that family, his grandfather and cousins, the cousins who were not just to him were killed. But even his own kids, own children, all of them died, right? So a war is not fair to anybody. There is enough and more damage on both sides. So Arjun's confusion is not trivial. But what is his confusion? Dharma Sankat. What should he do? Right? Similarly, every single person goes through this Dharma Sankat only in Mahabharata. Right from the beginning. Right? Let's start from that very point. Shantanu has his son come back. First he married Ganga, then his son was gone, or Ganga took Devavrat away, trained him and got him back.
Okay.
Now Devavrat is being crowned the prince, the crown prince, and he's supposed to become the king. At that point, what is the Dharma Sankat Shantanu is facing with? One end is his son, other end is the woman he fell in love with, Satyavati. What should he choose? He says, no, I will not marry Satyavati because of this promise that her father wants. But Bhishma, he is also thinking, should I look for my prince Dharma or should I be a son to my father? And he decides to be the son to his father and takes up this vow, right? After which he gets the name Bhishma. So he is also going through that struggle, but he prioritizes his Putra Dharma. Similarly, at every point, what is Kunti going through when she gave up Karna, right? Should she be the mother or should she keep the name of her foster father and give up this son?
Okay.
Every single person, Dhritarashtra, should he be loyal? Should he be doing everything that his son wants or should he be a good Raja, right? Every single person in Mahabharata has gone through this Dharma Sankat.
Okay.
That we call ethical dilemma, moral dilemma.
Okay.
A dilemma of which responsibility takes priority, right? Every single person. And in Mahabharata, we see how the different decisions taken by different people and the way those decisions are taken eventually define the life they live or the outcome they face.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
Bhishma was an epitome of dharma. He knew what is right, he knew what is wrong. But what decision did he take? To fight on the side of adharma. And we saw his end. Right? This is true for everyone. What decisions they took defined their outcome. And those decisions were based on their understanding of their own various dharmas and the choice they made. We all make choices, right? Life at the end of the day is about decision making.
Exactly.
Good or bad happening to us is based on our own actions, right? Based on those decisions we took. So how should we take those decisions? This is completely what Mahabharata teaches us. That if we take those decisions with a clarity of what is our dharma at that point in time, we will probably end up with better consequences.
Okay.
If not, just knowledge itself is not enough. If our decisions and actions are not aligned with the right dharma, destruction is going to happen. So this is the key as I understand. Dharma is the underlying theme.
Okay, got it, ma'am. So I'm going to ask you a tricky question. So you have written 2 books, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Which is your favorite actually?
Mahabharata is the first one.
Okay.
Obviously, it has a special place.
Okay.
However, I must say Ramayana was more fulfilling in the sense that Mahabharata, while the idea was to debunk myths and lots of questions which people also had, which I had got solved and stuff, Mahabharata was more emotionally enriching just because of the life of Sri Ram and Sita Ma and stuff. And I feel like while there are lots of myths about Mahabharata out in the society creating this weird and stupid narrative, in Ramayana there is a deeper problem because somehow Ram himself is not being understood. Yeah. So while the history, the story is not as complex as Mahabharata, the misunderstanding is deeper. For someone who is our Ishta, our God, right? There is a reason we've considered Sri Ram God for so long. And today, he is being trashed by these smaller, very narrower lenses of thisism and thatism and misogyny and this and that and whatever. And understanding how he lived his life, going through so much pain at every point, but doing what he did as it was aligned with dharma. didn't matter if he personally suffered because of that. I think that was more emotionally enriching to understand Sri Ram as a character. So I cannot choose. I think both are something I love.
Okay, ma'am.
I think the clarity of dharma that probably came from Mahabharata helped me to understand Ramayana better. Is what I'll say.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Life lessons. So we have learned life lessons from Ramayana and Mahabharata as well. So what are the life lessons from Mahabharata that in today's society should learn from the Mahabharata as well, ma'am?
As I said, the first is dharma.
Okay.
What is dharma and why it matters? Because I said everything boils down to dharma and managing dharma sankars. That is key. Now, if we take individual instances, then we will have lots of individual, very
Exactly.
tactical lessons also. But the largest is how do we make decisions in our life? How do we prioritize decisions and dharmas in our life? But that I already spoke about. Let's take example of few tactical dharmas. Lot of times when I ask people that how is it that Pandavas won the war in spite of having a much smaller army compared to Duryodhan. Duryodhan had 11 Akshahonis. These guys had only 7. And people say, oh, because Krishna was on their side. Yeah. But why was Krishna on their side? Did he just suddenly... Did he suddenly come on the side? No. He was chosen. Arjun had a choice to make. Again, it all boils down on that choice.
Okay.
When the war, finally it was decided that the war has to happen, right? And both Duryodhan and Arjun, they go to Krishna in Dwarka to seek his support. Because Karma Siddhanta works everywhere. Unless you put effort, even Krishna cannot come. Okay. Even for Krishna, you have to make effort and be mentally ready to accept his teachings. Only then the teachings will also come. So at that point, Arjun chooses Krishna over his Narayani Sena. Krishna says, I will support both of you because I am related to both of you. So on one side will be me, but I will never pick up a weapon. I will only be a Sarathi. On the other side will be my Narayani Sena, like the huge Sena, very well trained Sena. What do you choose? Arjun could have chosen the army, the much greater army. He didn't. He chose Krishna. Krishna didn't come. It was a choice made by Arjuna and the Pandavas. That is why Krishna was on their side.
No.
Right? So, again, it just didn't happen because Krishna was biased. No. That was a choice made by Pandavas. Why are they able to make these choices is the question, which Duryodhan couldn't. Duryodhan also was a smart person, right? Again, it goes back to what we discussed about Ramayana and Mahabharata. Why did Duryodhan not listen? Did Pandavas do anything really bad to him? No.
Okay.
Did they say that we want the entire Rajya, that Hastinapur is also ours, this is also ours? No, they said what the elders decided, let us give these guys Indraprastha, which was actually Khandav Prastha, a barren land. And Duryodhan keeps Hastinapur. Hastinapur was very prosperous. Everybody tells him, why do you want their Rajya? You are happy, already strong Rajya is coming to you, Hastinapur. But he's like, nothing doing. I cannot survive with these people. Why? Intense Matsarya Bhav, jealousy. Supported by what kind of friends? Friends like Karna, who are not with him because they want to do something that is right for Duryodhan. But they are aligned in their goal. What is their goal or what is their objective? Jealousy of Pandavas, right? For Karna also, the main goal in life is defeating Arjun.
Okay.
Nothing else matters, right? And hence, when everybody is telling Duryodhan that don't do this war, don't get into this war, everything will be destroyed. Karna is like, I'm there, no, I will fight. Why? Because he wants to fight Arjun.
Okay.
So, this is how two people with their ambitions and their narrow goals have led the entire Bharatvarsha of that time to a war. Why? Because clouded with what we said, Matsarya and Ahankar. Everything boils down to that. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya. When we cannot control those and we are in that position of power, destruction is bound to happen. But on the other side, when people behave controlling their Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya with the intention of the betterment of the people around that, the society around that, obviously your decision making and your final outcome will be better.
Okay.
Right? That is exactly what has happened to the Pandavas.
Okay.
They had agreed to even accepting only 5 villages. Yudhishthir says, only 5 villages I'll take. Let the war not happen. But that also Duryodhana doesn't listen. Now, one caveat here, I'm not saying every action of Pandavas was correct. No. In fact, we see what happens when Yudhishthir, when he was in that desperate position, when everything was lost, right? Clearly, he couldn't stop. Why? Because one after the other, everything is lost. He was in this rage, and he was so overwhelmed at that point that anything that can get me some of this back, anything that can stop my losses, right? But doesn't happen. And that time when Bhim afterwards tells him that why didn't you stop? You staked all of us and you staked Draupadi. You shouldn't have done that. And because of you, we are all suffering. Bhim tells him that. And Yudhishthir says, right, you are right. Because he says, Manyu harati manushasya dhiram. This Manyu, this rage, when you're overcome with it, it takes away the buddhi and any intellect that a person has of understanding good from bad. It takes that away. And that happened to me. So he says that at that point, right? So it could be anybody. It could be the greatest of the greatest person. When overcome with Kam, Krodha, Lobh, Mohammed, Matsarya, will take a decision that is not right.
No.
Yeah, of course, in the case of Yudhishthir, it is a little different. He was also probably not in a position to take any other decision. He was already lost. Right?
Okay.
And he is not the one who decides to stake Draupadi. Now, one thing I want to mention here, people make it a gender issue. The whole Dyut Krida, they make it a gender issue.
Yeah, I was about to ask that question.
So I will already answer that. Draupadi was not the first person he staked. Right? He staked all his brothers. Was that right? No, right? We talk about staking Draupadi, but it is not as if he sat to play the game and Draupadi ko laga diya daw pe. It's not like that.
Okay.
Right? He loses all his wealth, his kingdom, everything. Then, in Hindi there is a phrase saying, "Dubte ko tinkai ka sahara kafi hai." Basically, a man who is drowning will catch on to anything to survive. So this man has lost his entire kingdom and wealth. He is trying to hold on to anything that comes to say that maybe if I stake Nakul, I will win back. Yeah. So he stakes first Nakul and Sahadev and Bhim and Arjun and himself. And then when he basically says, I don't have anything else to stake now. But Shakuni says, you have. Krishnam Panasva, stake your wife, Krishna. Draupadi's name is Krishna as well, right? And he doesn't want to. But again, it's like, maybe I will win. And frankly, he had no way out because Dhritarashtra, the king, is only encouraging the Kauravas, right? So, and that's when he stakes. So, while staking is wrong, it is not a gender issue here. Let's remember that. Because why is staking the brothers right? Why is taking himself right? So it's not because it's misogyny. It is that situation which developed at that point in time. Yeah. So that has to be understood.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, my question was actually different. Was all these two things like both Ramayana and Mahabharata in order to save the women's pride, or did all these two wars happen because of the women? So what is your thought on that actually?
Because of women? Why will it be because of women? Okay, I know where it's coming from. In the first case, what had any woman to do? In that case, yes, it could be because of the women, because of Shurpanakha, but not anybody else.
Okay.
Yeah? So the first war was definitely triggered. The Ramayana war is triggered by Shurpanakha. But how? By exploiting Ravan's weakness for women. Okay. So, if Ravan would not have kidnapped Sita, nothing would have happened, right?
Got it.
So, who was responsible? Ravan only. But why did he go kidnap Sita? Because Shurpanakha lied to him that Ram and Lakshman cut her ears and nose because she was trying to get Sita for Ravan. And Sita is so beautiful. She goes on to describe the beauty of Sita and she says, anybody who comes in the alingan of Sita is like God. She's worth being your wife and I was going to get her for you. That's what she tells Ravan, yeah? And now he's like, oh, I want this lady.
Okay.
It is not for his sister.
Okay.
He's like, I want this lady. So what leads to the downfall? Ravan's lust.
Okay.
Yeah? You cannot blame the lady for it.
Can we portray that it is Ravan's lust and Duryodhana's disrespect?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Not disrespect, his jealousy. Why is he doing all this? It is, he disrespected Draupadi as a part of the whole package. right? That he hates the Pandavas so much, his jealousy for them is so much that he does not even realize that what he is doing is so terrible to his own sister-in-law, right? Both Karna and Arjun, the idea of disrobing is Karna's. He is the one who calls Draupadi Vesha. So they are both so blind, they've become so blind in that jealousy and hatred that they fall to such abysmal levels. They probably would not have if they were not so blind, right? So unlike Ramayana, where the theme is Ravan is lusty throughout, we don't see that lust in Duryodhana and Karna. That is not the key theme. The key theme is still jealousy, in which they ended up doing something which should have never happened. And at that point, Bhishma, though he doesn't stop anything from happening, which he probably should have, but anyways, it goes back to Dharma Sankat question. He says that whatever has happened today is so bad that I can definitely see that the Kauravas are going to be destroyed.
Okay.
So, the action definitely leads to the destruction, but the theme is still Dharma.
Okay.
That, and the cause of it is jealousy and ahankar in Mahabharata, and there it is basically the lust and ahankar.
Okay, man. I want to bring in Vitur here actually, because there is a separate book and there is a separate set of laws in which Vitur Niyati, we would say, we would say Tamil as Vitur Niyati as well. So, in today's world, so how important is Vitur Niyati or the thoughts of Vitur as such? Give us an insight about that.
So, Vidur is called, like Yudhishthir is called the son of Dharma. Okay? Vidur is called Dharma himself. So there's a backstory which we are told that once upon a time, Dharma, Lord of Dharma, he got a curse because of some action of his, and he was born as Vidur. So he was Dharma himself. The clarity of Dharma, what is right, what is wrong, what should be done, what shouldn't be done, what is the context, that clarity that Vidur has is unmatched.
Okay.
At every point in time. Even that is why the Dharma Sankat, in that episode of Draupadi's Vastraharan, nobody is speaking anything because the king is not speaking. But what does Vidur do?
Right.
He still raises his voice. Although the king doesn't listen, but he does his dharma.
Okay.
As the prime minister, he gives the right advice. He says whatever is happening is wrong. He even goes to tell Duryodhana that whatever you're doing is wrong. Yeah, nobody listens. That's a different thing. But his role was to give a warning, to show them what was right and wrong, and he did. Now, Vidurniti is a part of Mahabharata. Okay, it happens when the negotiations are going on between the Kauravas and the Pandavas after the end of the Vanvas of the Pandavas. Yeah, and what happens is that night, like one night when Sanjay was sent as a messenger, and he comes back and tells Dhritarashtra that I'll give you whatever I have heard from them. I'll tell you in the morning. But let me tell you this, that you are going to be responsible. If this war happens, you are going to be responsible. Something like that, Sanjay says. So all night, Dhritarashtra is very restless. Okay. Yeah? And at that time, he calls for Vidur. And he says that I'm very restless. You please talk to me things which are good for me, which are aligned with dharma and stuff like that. And Vidur says that, oh, why are you restless? He's like, at this hour in the night, only these kinds of people are restless. One who's a robber. Yeah, one who's full of lust, one who's done something wrong himself, one who has picked fight with somebody very powerful. What have you done? So he's basically saying somebody who has guilt will not be able to sleep and will be restless. So he's basically telling him why you are restless. Yeah, and then he goes on to give this entire discourse on what is dharma, how should the king behave. What are virtues? What are vices? What leadership qualities should a king show? Yeah, and different things come under that. In fact, my next book will cover Vidurniti in greater detail.
Wow.
It's beautiful. It's completely worth knowing for all of us, but especially those who think of themselves as leader. Right? Leadership is not only about being a CEO of a company. We are leaders in our own lives.
Exactly.
Any person who can inspire others by their actions and their words is a leader.
Okay.
Inspiring people to get onto the right path, right? And those qualities, what are those qualities is what we learn from Vidurniti, amongst many other things.
Got it, man. Let's talk about the Kauravas, and then we'll come to the Pandavas as such. So tell us a bit about Shakuni and his master strokes or anything or his diplomacy or anything we can call it. And at this side we have Krishna. Luckily they had Krishna, or else like there won't be anything in the side of Pandavas. So how powerful was the Kauravas, and how powerful was Shakuni? Tell us about him.
So there is this big misconception about Shakuni.
Okay.
He's probably not as bad as he's made out to be.
Okay.
And he's not even as vile as he's made out to be. It is not as if he's this person always evil and strategizing and stuff. No, he's not that. It's actually very simple.
Okay.
He wants his sister's
Sister's
son to get the Rajya. Yeah. And he's very, how do I say, he's very conniving in whatever that bhanja of his does. But there are these backstories that people talk about, that he hated Hastinapur and he wanted revenge against Hastinapur and he wanted all of them to die. None of it is true. That is not true. Gandhari was married very happily by her family, because Hastinapur was that kind of a prosperous kingdom. Yeah. So there is no this revenge backstory to it. In fact, at one point in time, Shakuni tells Duryodhan that in this Gandharva Yuddha, the Pandavas have saved your life. Now you keep a bigger heart and give them Indraprastha back. You already have Hastinapur. Why do you want to fight? So this is also Shakuni. Yeah. Of course, he has helped Duryodhan in the Dyuta Krida because he is great at Dyuta. He has supported him in that Lakshagraha incident and all of that. He is mainly catering to the desires of his bhanja. Yeah, he is basically his bhanja is a spoiled brat, and he's allowing him to do anything he wants, and he is aligned with him. It was basically in his coterie, but not as bad as people think him to be because of this beautiful portrayal by Goofy Pentalji. Yeah.
Okay.
So this saying that he was on one side, Krishna versus Shakuni, no comparison.
Okay.
And no comparison at all.
Krishna is superior.
Because Shakuni is not that.
Okay.
And Duryodhan is not even dependent on Shakuni for his war strategy and stuff. Otherwise, why will he make Bhishma Pitama as the Senapati? And then after Bhishma Pitama, he makes Dronacharya as the Senapati. He doesn't make Shakuni, right? Nor do we know of Shakuni's inputs in his war strategy or anything like that. Nothing. Yeah. The war strategies and everything are defined by the Senapatis.
Okay.
Similarly, on the other side, yes, Krishna is there, but it is not as if the others are dumb and they don't know anything to do. Drishtadyumna was the main Senapati throughout, right? So Drishtadyumna is actually great at strategy.
Okay.
He's also Dronacharya's student, right? So a lot of what View has to make and all that is coming from Drishtadyumna. And of course the Pandavas also, because they are also smart. And Krishna is giving advice as necessary. Krishna's main role is to ensure that whenever faced with Dharma Sankat, he is there to guide the Pandavas. Yeah? But he's not this person who's like sitting and playing chess and strategizing. No, he of course is a great warrior. But the focus and the standard loci for Krishna is always Dharma. Whenever, like at the time of the beginning of the war, during when Arjun is faced with the dilemma, or on the 17th day of the war, when there is a tussle between Yudhishthira and Arjun, or throughout when Abhimanyu dies, yeah, and Arjun needs some emotional support, or when Arjun has decided that he is going to kill Jayadratha. So being there in all those occasions, inspiring or rather even scolding Arjun when he doesn't fight Bhishma Pitama. So always keeping Arjun on track whenever he goes astray is the job that Krishna has done, because clearly Arjun was one of the greatest warriors of that time, and he was also a little emotional. Bhim was as great as Arjun, but Bhim didn't need that kind of support. He was just himself.
Okay.
Rash karna to karna hai, kar dena hai. Okay. Yeah. But this sankat was what Arjun went through, because he was also more sensitive and more than Bhim. Yeah.
Okay.
So keeping Arjun on that path of dharma, because Arjun was going to be key in Pandavas winning the war, is what of course Krishna has done. And of course he is there as a part of strategy and everything. But it's not as if it is Shakuni versus Krishna or anything like that. On the side of the Pandavas is actually a joint effort, and you see that. Yeah, the way Yudhishthir gets inputs from everybody, the way Yudhishthir makes everyone feel like they are part of this team, the way Yudhishthir has helped align everyone towards one vision. It's fantastic. Whereas on the Kaurava side, that has not happened. They lost because, except for Duryodhana and Karna, nobody else wanted the war. They were just away fighting on the side of Arjun, right? Everybody had their own agenda in why they were fighting. So when your team is not aligned, when your team doesn't believe in you, even though they are fighting on your side, you are bound to lose. That is why you will see that there are so many arguments happening on Kaurava side all the time. Yeah. So when you actually study Mahabharata, you will realize it's not as simplistic as this one versus the other. Yeah. No, it's actually a study in organizational behavior. When you read when you understand the war, that what made Pandavas tick and what led to the failure of Kauravas. So it's a lot more complex than just one person strategizing on one side and the other person strategizing on the other.
Okay. I will talk about, as we talk about Gauravas, I just want to bring in Karnan. So, Surya Puttar. So, tell us about Karnan, ma'am, because like we have heard many things about him and he is the senior of all these Pandavas and everything, many things, and this good and bad side. And what you found special in Karna, or what you found that okay, Karnan should have avoided this or so and so. What was your thought of Karna?
When see my understanding of Karna is what everybody's understanding of Karna is through TV serials and all of that. So when I read Vyasji's Mahabharata and multiple like be it KM Ganguly version, the critical edition, Gita Press, all of that, my biggest shock was the portrayal of Karna in Vyasji's Mahabharata versus what we see him in televisions and everything. In televisions and everything, he's sort of this underdog, yeah, who had a lot of potential, but because of the society and the samaj, he did not get his due. Yeah, he was this one person who was always mistreated. Never, no just behavior happened with him. He was punished for being a Sutaputra, as we are told, right? And he was not even taught by Dronacharya because he was a Sutaputra. All this we have been hearing. And he's a great friend and all of that. Now, it was the biggest shocker for me was when in Adi Parva itself, Vyasji says Karna is a student of Dronacharya.
Okay.
And he chooses to leave Dronacharya because Dronacharya refuses to teach him the Brahmastra. Karna wanted to learn the Brahmastra, not to learn it for himself, but to defeat Arjun.
Okay.
Yeah. And Dronacharya knew how jealous Karna was of Arjun since from the days of the Gurukul. It was not new. Yeah. That's why he goes to Parshuram.
Okay.
Also, this whole Sudputra business is not what we think it is. Sutas, it's a mixed jati. It's a mixed jati of Brahman Stri, Brahman lady, and Kshatriya man. So their progeny were then all called Sutas. Yeah? And there are other Sutas in Mahabharata who are warriors, who are storytellers, who are bards, and they get enough and more respect. They are charioteers also, and they are great warriors also. Like Kichak is also a Suta. Yeah. So there was really no such injustice, so to say, against Karna done. He got what he got because of himself, and that is our karma siddhanta, right? We get what we do. There is no other way. Karma kiya hai, to karma ka phal milega. If you've done a karma, depending on with what intention and everything you've done it, you will get your outcome will be aligned to it. You cannot decide what that outcome is, right? So whatever has happened to Karna is also because of himself. It is not because of the Samaj. There is no victimhood. Actually, that's the beauty of both our texts. Yeah? Today, all narrative is about victimhood. Okay. Either the lady is a victim, either one person is a victim, or this is a victim, or that is a victim, and every story revolves around victimhood only, right? Okay. In our text, there is no victimhood. Everybody, in fact, what the text tell us is that you are responsible for all that you do. And every person has it in him to take the right decisions if they acknowledge their own svabhava, if they acknowledge their weaknesses and strive to improve themselves. They can all achieve, they can all take the right decisions. It's basically controlling the Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya. Easier said than done, yeah? But that is what it essentially is. It is not about identities. It is not about victimhood at all. Okay. So this was about Karna. I mean, I'm just saying in short, people are very invested in this patra of Karna because somewhere everyone feels that, oh, see, With me also, I am also not able to succeed because of others.
Okay.
And we find that similarity with Karna, yeah. And we try to find reasons of our problems today in our past.
Okay.
So we have some problems today, no doubt. But we think that oh, this caste problems we have is because of our ancestors. No, that's not the case. In fact, lot of things I believe we face today as problems are because we've forgotten our scriptures and we've forgotten our history and the lessons from our history.
Okay, okay, got it, ma'am. Ma'am, the Nakula and Sakadeva, and these are two important characters in the Pandavas. As we spoke about Arjuna and Bhima, I'll come to Yudhishthir later. And so, Nakula and Sakadeva, what are their specialties, ma'am?
So Nakul and Sahadev are honestly, people want equally big stories about them. They are not there. Okay. They are brothers they are brothers and very well taken care of by Yudhishthir and the elder brothers, and they are also equally great warriors. Because in Mahabharata we see that when the Rajasuya Yagna is happening, all four brothers go in different directions to basically establish their sovereignty over other kings. And Nakul and Sahadev are equally successful in the directions that they've gone. Sahadev has gone south, Nakul has gone east, right? So like Arjun and so we see about their war exploits as well. In the war as well, they are very good warriors. When they are in Vanvasa, they have been supporting all of the brothers and Draupadi and everybody, but not much has been given specifically about them. But we do see again that when the Agyatwas, when the year of disguise starts, one has become Tanti Pala and the other is basically taking care of cows and the other one is taking care of horses. So they know that also very well to manage animals and horses and cows and all of that. Also very skillful, yes, but these are some of the qualities they have. Now, after the war ends, after the war ends and so many people have died, when Yudhishthir is very sad. And at that point, he's like, oh, this war has happened because of me. So many people have killed because of me. Now I don't want this Rajya. I'm going away. I'm relinquishing everything and I'm going away. And at that time, everybody tries to convince them, including Nakul and Sahadev. And their arguments they make are equally good. Like why it is important to be a Grahastha, why it is important to be a Raja, and what is the role of the Raja. Okay. They also try to convince him like everybody else. Okay. So we see them in bits and pieces. And we do see that these brothers are the pillars of that keep the Pandavas strong. You know, what happens is sometimes in history you will always talk about the main characters. The others are equally important, but they are just there. They are there and doing their role as they need to do to keep the unit together. That they have done. They are very skillful, as I said. But we don't find too many stories separately about two of them.
Okay, got it, ma'am. Ma'am, the cover picture of your book actually. So, what story is behind that? Tell us the story
This
behind
one.
your cover picture actually.
So this is a abstract, basically
Okay.
modern art.
Okay, okay.
This is a
okay.
modern art,
Okay.
which is about the Dyuta Krida. You can see the game, yeah. So this is Draupadi in that Dyuta Krida Sabha and the Kauravas and Pandavas, and you see Krishna.
Okay.
I believe this Dyuta Krida. So if you see from the beginning, Duryodhan has hated the Pandavas, right? Even when they were kids, that time Yudhishthir tried to kill Bhima. When they grew up, he sent them off to Lakshagraha and he tried to kill all of them along with Kuti. All that he has done all this while. But the worst was this Dyuta Krida incident.
Okay.
Maybe if this wouldn't have happened, then they would have still fought. There would have still been enmity and stuff against between the Pandavas and Kauravas. But this yuddha that happened, it may not have deteriorated to that much.
Got
yeah.
it.
So I feel like this incident is like the turning point where the karmas of the Kauravas, especially Duryodhan and his friends, have become so loaded that a war had to happen. So I see this as that one incident, like the core incident in Mahabharata that made the war. I mean, it could not have not happened. Yeah,
No.
it had to happen.
Okay. Got it. So this incident led to the war, as you said.
It did not directly lead to the war.
Okay.
Again, after this, also the Pandavas lived through the 13 years of Vanvas, right?
Vanvas, yes.
They still tried to negotiate.
Okay.
So they still did what they needed to do, but looking at the cosmic karmic level, right? I believe that this was like the lowest point. This is like the nadir of the actions of Kauravas. And whatever anybody might have done, the karmic weight would not have avoided the war.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
I'm not saying this led to that directly. But at
Okay,
a karmic level.
maybe at the starting point we can say.
Starting point has always been there.
Okay.
What has eventually led to the war is the jealousy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm saying it at a different level. I'm saying
Okay.
it at the karmic level.
Got it,
I believe that this was it.
Okay.
If this wouldn't have happened, then probably there was a chance that negotiations and everything could have worked. So the way Mahabharata talks about how does God help, yeah, and how does God when God is against you and God is aligned with you, then how does He help or not help? So we are told that when God helps, it's not as if He comes as a person and does something to you. He inspires your buddhi in a certain way, right? So that you end up taking the right decisions. But when He is against you and your karmic load is so much, He will inspire your buddhi to work in a wrong direction, leading to your further downfall. Like as we say, vinashakale viprita buddhi. So He will make that buddhi viprita. That's what we are told in Mahabharata. It's not as if somebody will come on your side and fight. But it is at this level. So this karmic load of this incident was such that the Vinash Kale Viprita Buddhi of Duryodhan kicked in. Otherwise, they finished the Vanvas, no? He could have said, okay, fine, now give it back. Some buddhi would have come to him. But it didn't, even after that. Why? Because of this karmic load, where it was decided that, okay, now the war is inevitable. And that kept on, and because of that, Duryodhan kept on taking the wrong decisions.
Okay.
That's what I meant. It's like at that level. It's not a direct one-on-one, but the karmic level is what I'm talking about.
Okay, got it, man. Ma'am, the character of Draupadi actually, so again, I would come into this controversial thing. So, and she have been portrayed somewhat to a very wrong manner, I would say, because of marrying all the Pandavas together. And we all know how she sacrificed her entire life and how loyal she was and how other things went on. So, was Draupadi character portrayed in a wrong manner in today's world or in that time also? What is your take on that, man?
So first of all, you mentioned this at the beginning and I forgot to respond to that. That did the war happen because of the women?
Okay.
Yeah. So there is one answer again which I usually get for why the war happened, and they say it's because Draupadi said, "Andhe ka putra handha," blind man's son is blind, and that eventually led to Duryodhan feeling hurt and ego hurt.
Got it.
Now, per Ved Vyasa Mahabharata, Draupadi never said that. Okay, so this incident itself is not there. Of course, even if she had said it, it is not enough to justify the war, yeah, or anything that Kauravas did. Because, come on, I mean,
got it.
Yeah, so that still doesn't justify making her as the person who made the war happen. So that is still not right. But one, she didn't say that. And the character of Draupadi is such is that she will never say anything like that. She's extremely graceful, yeah. And when you say sacrifice, it is not sacrifice in the sense that it was not acknowledged. The Pandavas have given Draupadi utmost respect right from the beginning. Yeah, right from the beginning. They have, and not just the Pandavas, everyone has. There is only one person, basically the Duryodhan and Karna are only the two people have really looked down upon Draupadi. Nobody else has in the entire Mahabharata. Like today we make a big deal of, she had 5 husbands, yeah. Of course at that time when the decision was being made, Yudhishthira took this call, right? And Draupadi doesn't refuse. All the brothers agree because he took this call in interest of the unity of the Pandavas. So even she doesn't say no to it. And throughout she has gotten the respect. Like Krishna also gives her so much respect.
Exactly.
Bhishma Pitama, Dronacharya, Kunti, they all give her the respect. Why? Because her character is such. She, when they are in Indraprastha, and I've spoken about it in many places, she basically is running the royal household completely, like a CFO. Yeah, she has complete insight into treasury. That is the kind of trust the Pandavas placed in her. Yeah. So when we say sacrifice, what I do want people to know is it is not the victim who'd sacrifice. This is a strong woman who has the agency, who's actually managing the finances of Indraprastha. Yeah, and getting the acknowledgement as well. This the five husbands thing, it's not as if, I mean, it was not common, but it was not as if it did not happen. Because when she is living in the disguise as Sairandri, that time also she says that, oh, my five Gandharva husbands, which means it used to happen. Also, when Yudhishthir is trying to convince Draupadi's father, about the five husbands thing, he says it is not prohibited in the Shastras. Just that there are fewer examples, but there are examples, and he quotes examples. Yeah, even today in certain tribes, to keep the property together, one woman is married to multiple brothers.
Got it.
Not so, it's like polygamy and polyandry. So if polygamy is okay, why do we pass moral judgments on polyandry?
Okay.
Right? Why should that be? The only person who's actually doing that is Karna, where he calls Draupadi Vaishya.
Okay.
Yeah. So he is the closed-minded person, but not Ved Vyasji, because nobody else has looked down upon Draupadi.
Okay. Since you mentioned about Krishna and Draupadi, tell us the bonding between Krishna and Draupadi, because like both were like having a very good bond, as we've seen in the TVs and the series in which Mahabharata has came up. So tell us about the bond between Krishna and Draupadi, ma'am.
See, both of them were very fond of each other, and Krishna looked out for Krishna, because Draupadi is also called Krishna, because she was also dark and very beautiful and attractive and all of that, and she came out of the youngness, so she's called Krishna and Krishna. So they are great friends, but it is not as we see in the television serials or anything. Draupadi has become close to Krishna because Krishna has been a regular visitor to Indraprastha, and then during the Vanvas and all that. So, like Arjun has developed this deep commitment to Krishna, and Krishna looks out for him and other Pandavas, it's the same with Draupadi. She is also committed to Krishna, and Krishna is looking out for her as well. So, when Draupadi cannot complain to anybody else and open her heart to anybody else, she does to Krishna. It is when Krishna comes to meet them in Vanvas, that's when Draupadi is like, this is what happened. She's not cried till then, but in front of Krishna, she breaks down and opens up her heart. Even eventually, when the negotiations are going on about, where Yudhishthira said that, okay, give me only 5 cows. That time also, Pandavas make Krishna the messenger to go. And that time, Draupadi says that don't forget what this Karna and Duryodhan had done to me, right?
Okay.
While I understand that peace is important and stuff, don't settle for less than Indraprastha.
Okay.
Because my husbands have worked very hard to make it, and we have to remember the insult that was done to us. And if even if Duryodhan doesn't agree and my husbands are willing to settle unjustly, then I know that my brothers, my father, my sons, they will all fight for me. So you don't settle, because I do insist on justice. So that time also she says, and Krishna says, Draupadi, you don't worry. Like you have suffered, their wives will suffer too. So that kind of bonding where Draupadi feels very comfortable opening up to Krishna is there. But in certain novels, they have made it as a clandestine love affair. Nothing like that is there. It's a beautiful relationship.
Okay.
Beautiful relationship where Draupadi feels extremely comfortable opening up to Krishna. But that is also because her husbands have that kind of relationship with Krishna. Yeah? So it's nothing clandestine or anything. It's just very bhavapurna.
Okay. Let's come to the battlefield, which is the main important chapter of Mahabharata. So, I'll come to this part, the killing of Karna or killing of Abhimanyu, because both were important incident in the battlefield of Mahabharata. So, give us an insight about this incident, ma'am. How did this happen? Was Abhimanyu trapped because the Chakravyuh, as everyone would say? So, give us about an insight about this incident, ma'am.
So, Abhimanyu, first of all, the first 10 days of the war, Senapati was Bhishma Pitama. Okay. And Bhishma Pitama had laid out very clear rules for warfare. Yeah. Until then, all of them were followed. After the fall of Bhishma Pitama, all the rules started getting broken. Now, generally in the television and stuff, we see that it almost feels like Arjun killed Bhishma Pitama unfairly. But when you read the thing, right, it's not that.
Okay.
Clearly, this person, Shikhandi, was used. But Shikhandi was also fighting. It was not as if he was standing and doing nothing, yeah? He was the one continuously fighting with Bhishma. And while he was fighting, Bhishma was not responding to him, and Arjun also started fighting. But Shikhandi was in the middle, yeah? And behind, like on his rath, he was not on Arjun's rath. And behind Shikhandi's rath was Arjun. So Bhishma Pitama was having to maneuver to avoid Shikhandi and reach Arjun. And Arjun was also shooting directly. So eventually, so if you see the war, it is not as unfair as it is made out to be. Yeah. But after Bhishma Pitama falls, rules have begun to break. In what way? Now they are fighting at night. First they were not fighting at night. So now that has happened, of night fighting and all that has happened. And Dronacharya has become the Senapati. So Duryodhan has taken a promise from Dronacharya, because Dronacharya had also said, I will not kill the 5 Pandavas. So he says, you don't kill. You just catch Yudhishthira alive. Now, how to catch Yudhishthira alive? Dronacharya says, as long as Arjun is in the battlefield, not possible. Okay. So you have to take Arjun away.
Okay.
So they tried first day, like the 11th day, they tried 12th day. Again, Arjun came back. Then on the 13th day, again Arjun was challenged. So basically 12th, 13th day, again Arjun was challenged. And they took Arjun far, far away. And that day, Dronacharya formed the Chakra Vyuha. Okay. Now only Arjun, in Arjun, Krishna, I think Pradyumna, just 2-3 people really knew how to enter and exit the Chakra Vyuha.
Okay.
And Dronacharya thought nobody knows on the Pandava side, so he'll capture Yudhishthira very easily. But Abhimanyu knew how to enter, not to exit. Yeah. So Yudhishthira tells him, you lead the way and we will come in. Once we come in, we will all fight. Yeah. But instead what happens is Jayadratha, once Abhimanyu enters the Chakravyuh, Jayadratha manages to hold all the Pandavas and their armies outside. He stops them from entering the Chakravyuha. And we are told that's because he has an Ashirvad, he has a boon. That one day when Arjun is away, when Arjun is not around, he will be able to overpower the Pandavas. That's what he does. And Abhimanyu gets in. Of course, it's a huge Chakravyuha, right? But this boy is so capable and so fantastic that even though he's alone, he kills so many warriors on the side of the Kauravas, yeah? Eventually, Karna, Dronacharya, everybody realizes that if they keep fighting him one-on-one, as was the rule, right? At one time, only one, then another one. So, 5 of them cannot attack together.
Exactly.
One, they can attack.
Exactly.
But they realize that way, they cannot overpower him at all. So, all of them started attacking him at one time. How can he manage all of them, right? Arjun could manage that also. Arjun is at another level, yeah? But this one is a kid, right? Excellent warrior, but still some limitations are there, and he's alone caught in that Chakravyuha. So they attack him all together. 6 warriors attack that bacha all together, and still he keeps fighting. Eventually, Dushasan's son throws, as in they are fighting with a gada, Dushasan's son and Abhimanyu, and then he hits him with a gada on his head. So that rule where one-on-one should happen and all of them shouldn't attack together was completely broken at that point itself.
Okay, got it, ma'am. Ma'am, the war between Bhima and Duryodhana at the end, so that was one such interesting part in Mahabharata. So give us a small insight about that war, ma'am.
Okay, so ideally both the war of Karna and war of Duryodhan Bhim and Karna Arjun, people say that the Pandavas were unfair, yeah, based on television skills. These wars have to be read, what we see in Ved Vyasji's Mahabharata. In the case of Karna, it's very clear that the fight is still going on. It's not as if he's trying to get off the chakra, because so many times raths have broken, chariots have broken. People get new chariots and they continue to fight. Yeah, if they have gotten on the ground, again they continue to fight so many times. But Karna was trying to avoid that fight because he forgot his mantra. of Divyastra because of the curse of Parshuram at that point. So he's trying to avoid that, and hence he's saying, "Oh, dharma doesn't protect us. Arjun, you follow your dharma. I want to get the wheel out. You don't fight till then," and all of that. And Krishna says, "Wow, now you think of dharma. Where was your dharma all this while?" And he reminds him of his entire Kundali. He says, "Where was your dharma during Lakshagraha, during Draupadi incident, now when you killed Abhimanyu and all of that, right? What dharma? You have never ever stayed aligned with dharma. None of your actions were aligned with dharma. Now dharma, because you are at a back seat, right?" And he says, "No, Arjun, you continue to fight." So then Karna also continues to fight, and eventually his head is severed, yeah, at that point. So it's like this. It's not exactly how it's shown that it's an unfair war. No. And you have never lived up to any rule of law. What right do you have to demand fairness? That's the key question. In the case of Duryodhan, was a rule broken by him by hitting him on the thigh? Yes. Yeah. And that is why even Balaramji becomes very upset. But at that time, Krishna reminds him. He says, first of all, what dharma did these guys ever live up to? Now you expect Pandavas to live up to dharma? That itself is wrong. But he said there is one more reason. Bhim had taken a vow, had taken an oath in that Sabhagraha when this game of dice happened, that he will destroy this thigh, he'll hit this thigh of Duryodhan, which he flashed to Draupadi. Okay. That was so, what do you say? That was such a bad act, right? To flash your thigh to your own sister-in-law, exactly, indicating her to come and sit on your thigh, right? So it was such a bad act, which, because of it was such an indecent act, because of which Bhim had said that I will hit and destroy this thigh which you have flashed to my wife, right? So Krishna says, Duryodhan knew it, that Bhim was oath bound, okay, to break his thigh. Okay. Now, when would the thigh be broken? Not randomly on the road or while he's sleeping or anything, right? A thigh can only be broken in a war. Yeah. So when Duryodhan jumped the way he did, he should have remembered. He has known this for 13 years, that Bhim is oath bound to break his thigh. So he forgot. A smart warrior would not have forgotten. He forgot and gave that opportunity to Bhim to hit his thigh, to break his thigh. So by that, it's really not Bhim's fault. He had to live up to the oath, right? When else would he have, if not in a war? So Krishna explains this, that he knew that Bhim was oath bound. So from that perspective, even that was a fair deal. Okay. Ma'am, let's talk about Krishna, because the ultimate hero of all these things. Ma'am, tell us something which we don't know about Krishna, ma'am, because we have been discussing all these things, and dharma has been the ultimate subject of matter in Mahabharata. And tell us something about Krishna which we don't know, actually. Well, I don't know what people don't know about Krishna, but the thing with Krishna is that, and this is how I see it, yeah? Typically, we see Krishna and very playful, always happy. And when I ask a lot of people, they say, oh, it's very easy to relate to Krishna, but not to Ram. Yeah, they say Sri Ram we can't relate to, because they feel that, okay, he's taking decisions which are difficult to take and all that. But they say we can relate to Krishna very easily. And my point is always this. If you see the life of Krishna, it is full of hardships. Right from the time he's born, right? He had to be taken away. Then when he's a kid, there is some Rakshas or the other trying to kill him. At 11 or 14, depending on whichever version of Bhagavad you read, he had to kill his mama, his own mama. Just imagine the mindset of that child, okay, any other child. But Krishna, we say, oh, his Leela. His Leela, theek hai, but it is still a hardship, no, that he's lived through. Exactly. Acha, went to Mathura, what happens? There also no Shanti. Jarasandha is troubling, fighting again and again. Left Mathura, had to go all the way to Dwarka, right? Then his own cousins have fought, which he is a part of. And then eventually, he sees his entire family die in front of his own eyes, killing each other. Got him. In Dwarka. He sees the city that he has set up destroyed and drowned. And we say, oh, Krishna, all fun and masti, and we can relate to him. Seriously, we can't face one hardship in our life. What are we talking of relating to Krishna?
Okay.
He faced all of this with that bhav that he talks to Arjun about. Sthita pragyata, completely nonchalant, but completely in ananda. It is the most difficult situation to be. A state we aspire for, Janma Janmanta. Yeah? And he is that, living it in his avatar or, life. The most difficult state of being he has achieved, the Yogastha Buddhi, that is Krishna. That is why he say Yato Dharma Tato Krishna, right? That is Krishna. And we somehow feel we can relate to him. But anyways, I hope Krishna Anugraha stays on all of us and he continues to guide us.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your wonderful time. And I am personally learning many things from you, the storytelling or the reading the history and the narration, everything, ma'am. So thank you so much for inspiring us a lot. And I hope in future also we should do many more podcasts about Ramayana, Mahabharata, and your new book also, and bring more things to the society as well. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram. Jai Shri Ram.